Hey guys, GHAZZY TV here with another Path of Exile 2 video, and in this one, we're gonna cover the topic of minion gameplay and minions in general in Path of Exile 1 versus Path of Exile 2. Before we crack into the video, I do want to ask of you that if you find yourself enjoying this video, at the very end of it, make sure you hit the like button and do subscribe for more content. We're this close to 100,000 subscribers, and that would help the channel out a lot. Let's crack into it. Path of Exile 2 is designed to be a significantly slower paced game, where your decisions in combat in terms of what skills to use will matter a lot more than in Path of Exile 1. The way skills are set up is to provide you with a combination of skills. Now that we don't have a ton of information on the available skill combinations in general from Path of Exile 2 yet, but we do have some. We have access to a bone storm, or bone spears or spikes that you're shooting, which allows you to make enemies take more damage per hit based on how many spikes hit them, which is a channeling ability that you can cast or channel whilst moving at a slower speed. Now, before letting a barrage fly at the enemies, you can then target and direct these projectiles as you see fit. Another really cool mechanic in PoE 2 is how they're making the chaos damage over time abilities such as Contagion work in conjunction with your minions. So the way this works is that if your enemy dies whilst being under the effect of Contagion, they will remain to be affected. When I say they remain to be affected, I'm talking about the corpse. And if you then use a summoning skill on that corpse, such as raise zombies or the new Unearth ability, that minion will then continue to reapply the damage over time effect from the Contagion, and it's also visually have this purple hue colored effect on them, making it look badass. So first the corpse looks like a purple glowy corpse, and then you raise that to your minion, and the minion will have this glowy purple color and reapply the dot. It's actually really cool the way they've set up this combination of abilities. All of this comes down to a very specific playstyle for minions, and in general, where we no longer are seeking to the automated, proactive gameplay we see in most minion builds in PoE 1. The expected combat experience in PoE 2 is all about the combination of skills and making the decisions reactively based on the course of each fight. So let's compare that to the gameplay experience of PoE 1. In PoE 1, there's a handful of different unique playstyles, such as Blink Arrow, Mirror Arrow, also referred to as Bama, which is pretty skill-spammy playstyle. We also have access to Summon Raging Spirits, referred to as SRS, which expects the players to consistently be casting the skill. A personal favorite of mine is either running pure Spectre builds or Zoomancer, which both features permanent minions. And in most minion builds that has this, we strive towards as much automation as possible. To achieve this, we aim to get what's called a trigger weapon or a trigger wand. This is a crafted modifier that we put on a weapon, letting our skills socketed in the weapon automatically be casted on cooldown. This is then used to proc buffs for our minions, and in some cases also curses on the enemies, such as then using Desecrate, an offering skill, and a curse. Besides the trigger weapon, the general gameplay experience in combat is that we'd actually use a mobility skill to get right into the middle of an enemy pack, then use the Convocation skill, which teleports all our permanent minions to our location, which will then completely evaporate the pack of enemies we currently reside inside. This type of gameplay is how we generate high clear speed in most of these type of builds, and as with any build in PoE 1, we are expected to have buffs such as Flask proactively running before we even see the enemies. This flow of proactive gameplay is the bread and butter of PoE 1 that PoE 2 is taking a 180 turn on and walking away from, pushing for a directly reactive experience instead. Now, when comparing the expected experience we will see on November 15th for the minion playstyle between PoE 2 and the PoE 1, I will say that I'm beyond excited to play a game we all love in a reactive way rather than the proactive style. This is not me saying I will stop playing PoE 1 at all, of course not, but rather enjoy the fact that I will have access to multiple ARPGs that I enjoy spending time in every time they have a new league or a cycle or a season for whichever game I'm referring to. The combat differences of proactive and reactive differences aside, there are some absolutely insane quality of life differences between the games as well. So let's start with the dead minions. In PoE 1, when a permanent minion dies, you are expected to resummon it, and in some case this requires a corpse on the ground, which we have access to yet another skill to use that will supply this demand, being Desecrate. In PoE 2, however, if you have one or more permanent minions die, you simply need to wait a handful of seconds, where no other permanent minions dies, for literally the entire army of minions to all be resurrected at the same time. This, coupled with the fact that we have much larger quantity of choices for what type of minions we can summon, mainly skeletons in this game for the Necromancer or Witch class that we've seen so far, allows us to pick a very specific type of minion to choose and to adapt to our playstyle and our different fantasy choices. The choice we've seen stretches from fire-oriented skeletons to poison ones, where you can literally have your skeleton archers shoot out a poison cloud and then have your fire-oriented skeletons explode this poison on enemies. There's even skeletal cleric that will help heal your minions to keep them from dying. The topic of Spectres is another thing to compare between the games. In PoE 1, it's what a lot of us are referring to as a complete shit show, mechanically at least. And this causes a ton of frustration in the community more times than not. In PoE 2, however, we now get to straight up collect an enemy corpse to become an actual Raise Spectre skill by using a Bind Spectre skill gem. And this follows the same resummoning mechanic as our other permanent minions. They also follow the spirit reservation system, which is the resource we use to reserve our spirit in terms of enabling auras as well as the quantity of minions. And the race specters, depending on which unit you're racing as a specter, will have a set value of spirit that it requires to be reserved to be summoned as a minion. On the topic of the Animate Guardian, it similarly to Spectres causes a lot of frustration amongst players in PoE 1. Jonathan Rogers has stated his profound love for this minion, but we have yet to see how it will function in PoE 2. The speculation in the community is that we will hopefully see a resummonable Animate Guardian following the resummon structure other permanent minions have, and obviously hoping for a better functioning system to put gear on him and also check what gear he's wearing, but obviously, time will tell, and I'm very excited to see where they're going to land on this. As we lack more detailed information across the board, and we only have seen some new skill gem information pre-early access, images data mined over at PoEDB, the only other thing I can say is that the new Summon Raging Spirit skill gem is no longer allowing us to cast a skill to summon them, but rather they will automatically be summoned when we cast a fire-based ability. Needless to say, I'm super excited for all things Path of Exile, and I'm really excited to see the future of this. But November 15th, I'm going to dig through all things PoE 2, starting with the minions, of course. I'm also going to be running an uncapped subathon on November 15th for the PoE 2 early access. Now, we're going to have some really crazy sub goals. We're going to have some crazy events happening throughout this entire event. And I have a little bit of a special guest coming and joining as well. So I hope you guys will tune in and enjoy that lack of better words, shit show. But I hope you guys will enjoy it. Subscribe for more content to support the channel. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Till then, as always, stay safe. Keep rocking.